everyone, welcome to the Wilson Homestead. Excuse my messiness. It is late at night and I decided that I'm gonna start my tomato seeds. So I have all of these that are new this year, plus I have all of these to go through and figure out what exactly I want to plant. And I have like pretty limited space. I can only do like 40 tomato plants. That sounds ridiculous. That's really limited whenever you can only grow 40 tomato plants. But anyway, whenever you have this many varieties to choose from and you want to grow all of the things, it is a pretty hard decision for me. So I'm going to go through all of these and choose what I want, and then I will get back with you and let you know what I have planted. Alright, so I have narrowed it down to I think 15 different varieties. A few varieties are all quite a few are all dark tomatoes because those are my favorite ones. And plus I have pineapple ground cherries that I will be starting to because I grew those for the first time last year and we love them. So, okay, let's get on to the tomato varieties that I'm going to be starting. Paul Robeson, one of the dark tomatoes that I was telling you about. Okay, Mortgage Lifter. I have grown this tomato for 2 years now. The reason I started growing this one, it's a beefsteak variety, but the reason I started growing it was because it is a West Virginia heirloom, and it has a really cool story behind it. If you haven't heard it, I would suggest that you look at my past videos or just Google the story. It's a really cool story. I am also going to be growing Hillbilly tomato. I don't remember if this one is a West Virginia heirloom or not. I would have to Google that to be sure. But it's kind of one of those red and yellow stripy tomatoes that get really big. I grew it last year, but I got starts from a greenhouse and I feel like they were labeled wrong because they didn't perform like I thought that they should have. And they were kind of like, they didn't really look like this at all. And they were like hollow on the inside, like, you know, where all of like the gel and the seeds are, they were just like kind of hollow on the inside. And so I just don't think that they were labeled correctly. So I'm going to try to start those from seeds. Amish paste tomato, which I've never grown before. And I started some of these last year and I had some problems with my potting mix, and every tomato seedling that I started last year died, so I had to buy starts from a greenhouse, which kind of sucked because I had all of these cool varieties that I wanted to try and they just all died, so that wasn't good. But anyway, Amish paste is supposed to be good for like sauces or ketchup or, you know, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, whatever you want to make with it. And then I have some old seeds here. Let's see. Packed for 2013. So, but I did test the germination rate and it's about at 90% right now, so I should be okay. But these are black creme. I've never tried black creme before, but I'm sure that I'll like it because it's a dark tomato. Carbon tomato. Also, another dark tomato. Juliet, which is one of my favorite like grape style tomatoes. They're related to Roma tomatoes, so they kind of are really fleshy with not so much goop in them, but they're like the grape size and they taste really good. I don't know how I feel about this tag though on these seeds. It says it's dusted with serum, whatever the heck that is. I don't know. I'm like gonna open them up and look at them right now and see like what the heck. Why did you dust my seeds with things that, like, I feel like it's not really necessary to put weird things on tomato seeds because they germinate pretty readily anyway. So why would you dust them with weird shit? I don't know. Oh God, my grandma's gonna kick my butt because I said a bad word. Anyway, sorry Grandma. Okay. Barry's Crazy Cherry. This is a multiflora. That means like you get these huge clusters of tomatoes, and I think that that's going to be awesome. Blue cream berries. I've never tried these before either. And the last two varieties, they are Wild Boar Farms varieties. And I have a couple more of Wild Boar Farms varieties in here too. Let me see. These two right here. Pork chop tomato, which I think is yellow and green stripy kind of thing. And pink Berkeley tie-dye. Okay, and that's it for the Wild Boar Farms varieties. I also have Purple Bumblebee, which is a little cherry or grape style tomato. Black cherry, my all-time favorite cherry tomato. The best. And Aunt Ruby's German green. I grew these year before last, and they stay green whenever they're ripe, which is really cool. And like, so you have to go around, like, I wouldn't recommend growing a whole garden full of these green tomatoes because you just have to go around and fill the tomatoes to see if they're ripe. And then, like, if you look at the bottom of Aunt Ruby's German green, whenever they're ready, there's a little bit of pink streaking at the bottom too. You can tell that way, but usually I'm just out there, like, squeezing all the tomatoes, you know, like once you get used to growing tomatoes, you can feel what a ripe tomato feels like. And then I have triple crop tomato, and this is supposed to be a really big beefsteak red run-of-the-mill tomato, and I just wanted to give it a shot and see what it does. So I'm really excited to get all of these started. I am running a few days behind my schedule that I normally start all of my tomatoes, but maybe that's for the best because I always jump the gun. Tomatoes grow pretty fast, so you kind of want to time it to where you're not putting out like these massive things that you have to pot up 5 times. But I think if I start them now, I should be pretty good, you know. Like last year was one off though. Like my poor tomatoes had to be in their little tiny containers for a long time because usually our last frost date is like around May 12th. Last year we had a hard freeze on May 24th, I think it was. So my tomatoes did not get put out into the garden until June, like June 1st or something like that. So they suffered a little bit from being, you know, like I bought them, like I told you, I had to buy my tomatoes from the greenhouse last year. So they were in little, I think they were 6-packs of tomatoes, and I bought them around my birthday. My birthday's May 7th, and I bought them at the beginning of May, and they had to stay in those little containers for a month because the weather was just crap last year. So like I hope we don't have a year like that again because that hurt a lot of things last year. Like I had no apples last year. I had no grapes. Like it killed everything. That hard freeze at the end of May just like took everything out, and it was really disappointing. So I'm hoping that we get a good year this year to where I can, you know, preserve like grape jelly and apple pie filling and all of the things. And you know, I have other fruit trees that I hope will bloom this year too. So we'll see what happens. Like, I'm really hoping that the weather cooperates with us this year. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is the potting mix that I am using to start my seeds with. I had a lot of problems using Miracle-Gro potting mix, so I decided to switch to Pro Mix. And this actually has mycorrhizal fungi in it, so I hope that it does well. This was a big huge bale of it, and so it should last me a really long time, probably at least a couple seasons. Okay, so here is my tray. I've got all the labels. I'm just doing one variety per 6-pack. I am starting with the hillbilly tomato right here. And I put one seed in each cell, and I'm just going to push them down in there and cover them up. You don't want them too deep. And all of this potting mix that I'm using, I always put it in this container first and pre-moisten it so it's not so hard to work with. Because if you put it in here dry and then you put your seeds in, then you have to water it, and then things start, the seeds shift and they might go out of one tray into the other, and I don't want that kind of mess. So I always pre-moisten the mix and then do this part. And then I am doing a different step this year that I usually don't, and that is putting vermiculite on top of the cells after they're sowed. I'm just doing a thin layer. I have a really bad habit of overwatering my plants, so this may help me a little bit. Hopefully I won't get the green, you know how sometimes you get the green algae growth on top of everything. I'm hoping that this will eliminate that problem. Plus, this year I have it in my head, okay, I'm just going to really pay attention and let the plants dry out some before I get carried away and water them, because they can dry out, you know, about after they're a little bit established, they can dry out a good bit before you have to water them again. So I need to quit loving on them so much. Alright, I'm going to finish getting all of these planted, and then I will show you the next step. Alright, I've got everything planted in here and topped off with vermiculite. And now I'm going to take my handy dandy sprayer. You could just use a regular spray bottle if you want to, but it's easier to get one of these ones that you pump this little thing here, and then you can just push the button and spray these down just a little bit, just to get the vermiculite settled in and the seeds. Alright, so I'm setting these under the lights. I don't think I'm going to turn this on quite yet. I'm going to give it a couple days until I turn it on. This is actually a new LED grow light that I got. I'll turn it on just to show you real quick. It's one of those weird colored ones that hurt your eyeballs. But this is my first time ever using an actual grow light. Usually, as you've seen from my setup, I use shop lights that have 6500 Kelvin bulbs in them, and LEDs are just a lot more efficient. So I kind of want to see how this one goes and see if I prefer this, if it helps the plants to grow more, because usually, You can see how it looks purple here, and that's because it has the more of the red and blue light spectrum in it, and that's better for plant growth. That helps them to photosynthesize better. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I can get used to this. I'm guessing that since this light is an actual grow light, that I will have to keep them farther away from the plants than what I usually do with the shop lights. Because with the shop lights, you have to keep them like 2 to 3 inches above the tops of the plants. And I'm guessing that this probably has the potential to give them like sunburn if I keep it too close. But we'll see how it goes, and I will keep you updated on that. We're going to put a humidity dome over top of this. And I will leave this dome on here just so I don't have to water it so much. This dome will only stay on until, like, once half of these seeds germinate, this thing will probably come off. And because you don't want to keep too much moisture in there, because then you're going to risk damping off and a lot of bad things. So I will leave this dome on until about half of these plants sprout. I take it off, and like I said, in a couple days I will turn this light on, so whenever they emerge they'll have plenty of light. And that's it. That's what we're doing for the tomato plants. Quick update on everything else. Everything is looking pretty good. I'm about to the point where I'm going to start trimming back these little onions. I usually like to keep them about 4 inches tall while they're in here. And whatever you cut off of these, you can use in salads or on a sandwich, or put them on top of your pizza. Just use them like chives. Don't throw them out because they taste really good. Peppers are still doing really good. And I have quite a few flowers up. All of these are marigolds. These are alyssum. The ones behind are globe amaranth, which I'm guessing that I must have sowed heavier in this tray because there's so many more seeds. So, like, there's only 2 seedlings in that back 6-pack. I don't know what happened there, but look how many is in this one. And I did sow a few more flowers down here. I've got delphinium, rudbeckia, columbine, coreopsis, pink mollygrass, and then I have quite a few coleus coming up in here now. I'm still waiting for this middle one to start germinating before I take these 6-packs. Like 3 of them are hooked together, so I'm kind of waiting for that middle one to start germinating a little bit, and then I'll take that out from under this dome. No action in this one yet. Columbine and snowdrops, and then the prairie sun rudbeckia is coming up back there. I'll probably take that one out from under the cover tomorrow. But I'm really happy with the progress I'm making. Like, I have a lot going on, and it's probably too much going on. Like, once I start potting all of this stuff up, I don't know if I'm going to have enough room in here. So we'll see how it goes. But so far so good, and I am so glad that you joined me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time here on the Wilson Homestead. Bye, guys.